Welcome back. The group Generation Citizen is teaching students from underserved areas all about problem solving through civic engagement. And the feedback has been phenomenal. We're talking great results. Now, Scott Warren is here. He is the group's co-founder and executive director. And I guess the first question is just tell us, what is Generation Citizen?
Sure, and thanks so much for having me. So we're all about empowering young people to be active citizens so that they understand how the political process works and understand how they can use their voice to make differences in their communities. So we actually go into schools, and just like you learn math by doing math problems or you learn science by doing science experiments, we want students to learn about politics through actually engaging in the real world and taking action on issues that they care about.
Now, Scott, we're talking about engaging young minds that are concerned perhaps about iPods and iPads. Is it tough to get them to focus on the real world and that it's not within these 4 years in high school, if you will?
Yeah, I think that's something that we do see, but one of the things that happens is as soon as these kids realize that their voice matters, as soon as they realize that people actually care about what they think, there's sort of this moment of transformation that happens where they realize, oh, I can make a difference. And that's, I think, what's most powerful about what we're doing is when you really get kids to realize that their voice actually does matter.
Now, tell me about you. When you were the same age as the kids that you're trying to motivate, were you as in touch with politics and whether local or on the federal level? What was going on?
Yeah, so I actually had the opportunity of growing up all around the world. My dad was in the State Department. So when I was their age, I was in Kenya and Ecuador, and I actually had the opportunity to participate as an observer in the first truly democratic Kenyan elections in 2002, which was a really inspiring moment for me because I saw all these individuals lined up to cast their first vote. And that was really impacting because I saw, wow, these individuals really care about coming together to make a collective difference. And I think that spirit is really what we're trying to generate in the students that we're working with is this notion that, you know, we're all part of this collective identity in this country, and all of our voices matter when we come together to make that difference.
How are they receiving this? Like, what are the issues that are of concern to this age we're talking about?
Right, so what happens is that we actually partner college students with middle and high school teachers. And over the course of the curriculum, we ask students, what do you care about? What would you change if you were in charge of your school, your city, your state? So it's everything from more nutritious school lunches, which the First Lady might be proud of, to gang violence.
Bloomberg.
right, for sure. From gang violence to public transit to teen jobs, it's really local issues. And that's what we're trying to do. I think when people say the word politics now, we think national. We think what's going on in Washington, D.C. And there's this tendency to avoid politics because it's nasty and nothing gets done. But when we think about it in our classes, and we're working with over 6,000 students across the country, we really want to focus on the local. So what can we get done, and what do students care about that's going on in their everyday lives?
There is a lot of talk right now about gun control and the debate, you know, what is too much, what is not enough. And we're talking about this age, this generation. We've certainly had horrible stories, you know, within our own tri-state area here. What's been the reaction from them? Is that coming up, you know, at all?
Oh, yeah. And we've had schools where students have been shot. And this is something that they talk about a lot. Gang violence is really prevalent. We have one story of a class up in Harlem that there was a bus stop by their school where there was gang violence and muggings, and I'm sure guns had something to do with it. So these kids actually, they did a survey throughout their entire school. They realized that this problem at this bus stop was one that affected a lot of kids, and they thought it was because the cops didn't care about them. So they actually got the precinct captain of the local police office to come in. They presented him with the findings, and he said, you know what, I had no idea this was going on. So we put an undercover cop at that station and set up an official liaison between the police department and that class. So I think that goes to, you know, we're having these big debates about gun control and this national legislation, but there's solutions that have to happen at the community level too. Regardless of what happens with background checks, we need cops protecting young people. And so those are the kinds of issues that our young people are talking about every day.
Are there stories where you actually get a response from one of the young people that actually makes you, you know, it takes you aback for a moment, you know, when you're hearing anything at all, something you said, I didn't think of that, or that never crossed my mind? You ever run into that?
A lot of issues that they care about. You know, we have kids in Providence that talk a lot about public transit. And so there's a public transit system in Rhode Island, and there's just a lot of rules with it that don't make sense. For example, if you live more than 3 miles away from a school, you get a free bus pass. But if you live 2.5 miles away, you don't. So for whatever reason, the public bus transit company in Rhode Island thinks that students should be able to walk if you live 2.5 miles away from school. So it's issues like that that come up that you might not have thought about, but these kids are living and breathing these issues every day. There's not enough resources for teen summer jobs. There's not enough resources to make sure that they're safe every day. And these kinds of issues they talk about when we ask them what they care about.
You have been named one of the more promising 30 under 30s by Forbes magazine. Before you get away from us, what do you want the legacy of Generation Citizen to be?
I think overall in this country, civics and political engagement, especially amongst young people, is something that just doesn't exist anymore. I think as a country, when we think about education, we think about math, we think about science, we think about literacy. What I want Generation Citizen to do is really get civics back in the curriculum, and get civics not to be the boring, here are the 3 branches of government, here's how a bill becomes a law, but the most exciting class where kids can focus on issues they care about and really make a difference in their community. So I hope Generation Citizen's lasting impact is really getting action civics and effective civics to be part of every school in the country.
You'll come back here and see us?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Scott, thanks for being here.